I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 21, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest, flying rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time.
Hello, we are back. We're back to talk about one thing and one thing only. Mr. Harvey Barnes.
He is.
There he is. He took his time. But before we start talking about that, and before Pete gets his own back at me, why you're not? I have to ask the question: how is everybody? Pete, how are you?
Get my own back. I don't even know what you're on about. No idea.
Because I was saying you never asked how we were there one day.
Don't worry about that. All good. I'm very, very happy today. I've got to be honest, nice surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be announced today. I thought it was if it wasn't going to be announced yesterday, it was going to be announced tomorrow. But yeah, it certainly lifted the mood. Being a Newcastle fan, ready and waiting for tonight's game. So yeah, buzzing myself. Looking forward to it.
Nice one. Chris, I'll come to you next. What were you drinking there? It looked like a child's bottle.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're not far off actually. So, Summer likes frappuccinos, and she likes to have it in this nice glass with the cream. Anyway, the one I got her from Costa, she doesn't like. So she was like, "Dad, do you want it?" So I was like, "I'll have it." So that's why it's in that glass, just in case you're wondering. Yeah, it got palmed off to me.
Very good. You're good anyway.
Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah, very, very, very excited for tonight's game. I don't know what it is. I mean, no disrespect, obviously, to the likes of Gateshead and to the likes of trying to remember Glasgow Rangers, but I don't know. Tonight just feels special to me, and I just think it will be interesting to see, where we are. No panic stations if we get battered, or if the result doesn't go our way. But it'll just be nice to see where we are in terms of Premier League opposition. So I'm looking forward to seeing Tonali. There's rumours we might see Mr. Harvey Barnes. Who knows? He's certainly in the squad, so I'm excited. So yeah, looking forward to watching that later. And I've got to hold my hands up. You boys know I've been saying for the last few weeks I didn't think Harvey Barnes was going to happen, and he did. And you know what?
He did. I'm
actually pleasantly surprised and pleased about it, because the more I'm thinking about it, we've all watched the highlight reels and we've all seen clips of him and stuff like that. And I think anyone who Eddie Howe and this management team bring in, we've got to be excited, because they've sought after him for a long time, and now he's finally through the door. We can hopefully focus on getting number 3, number 4, depending if you want to count Minter or not. But yeah, very, very pleased.
Jeez, I only asked you how you were and what were you
thinking.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
It's a coffee. Richie. It's a coffee. That's what I blame it
on. Richie, how are you?
Busy. I've been busy today, man.
Oh, you clicked yourself into mute.
System is played up. It's my system. I don't get the intros or anything anymore. I don't know, there's something wrong with my PC and the laptop, so it just flips on mute whenever it wants to. But apart from that, before I have a crack on, like Chris has just done and finished the show for you, so I'm okay.
Okay, good. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll see if you drift into mute. But okay, let's kind of a small little build up. This is just random bits here, and Pete, I'm robbing some of your old links here as well. So early days, we know we're linked with Harvey Barnes, as we talked with Graham Bailey there the other night, and then the other day a lot of to and fro and back and forth. Willie Wonty, as Chris alluded to there. Then we had confirmation via Keith and Fabio Romano and Keith Downey, and yeah, finally 38 million. There you go. We'll take him. 38 million. Harvey Barnes is a Newcastle player. There was sightings at the ground. There was sightings at the training ground as well. Then this came out today. A little ticket for him on the way to the States. And if you look in there, there's a number 15. People are highlighting that there's 15 players in the time, but along with the 1892, of course. And yeah, for temporary anyway, or for the time being, he's going to be wearing number 15 in the summer series. So interesting to see that. But Pete, we'll go to you first. Happy with the acquisition of Harvey Barnes. We know it will probably mean ASM is on the way out. But what's your initial thoughts?
Just before I talk about Harvey Barnes, Yano just put up quite nicely. Rest in peace, Stu Flyboy Ray. We obviously heard the sad news that on Friday, I believe, that he passed away unexpectedly. So, yeah, on behalf of everyone that loaded, I'm sure everyone else will have their say. Obviously condolences to his family and people that knew him. Obviously, we started on matters in the comments chat with him. He then, came over a number of occasions to Loaded and shared his opinions. So, part of the Loaded family to an extent, but obviously really, really sad news. So, condolences that. And obviously everyone that knew him, there's so many people in the chat, our chat tonight that conversed with him on a regular basis. So, for you guys as well as ourselves, condolences and best wishes to his family. So just wanted to say that initially to put that out there. Thank you, Yano, for putting that out.
Harvey nice before you move on, it's nice to see the comments coming through and everybody relating to him, the hashtag Bruce out, which was his little catchphrase every time in the chat and everything. So it's nice to know that obviously people don't just, that they're relating something to him personally as well from in the chat. So as Pete said, it's all our thoughts are with his family, and obviously it's a sad day, unfortunately.
Definitely.
Sorry, Pete.
No problem at all. Harvey Barnes, I have to be honest, I've kind of been a little bit reserved with regards to this because my opinion of this summer window has just been a bit all over the place. I'm not really very trusting of a lot of information that's coming out with regards to Newcastle, partly to Newcastle's credit because we're being really quiet and going about our business in a really kind of calm and astute and business-like manner. But I have to say, I'm buzzing. I'm really, really excited about this deal. This is an Eddie Howe deal written all over it. This is a player that is not the star-studded player that everybody would want to come into Newcastle. We've talked about many of those over the course of this summer so far that we'd have liked to have come in maybe in that position. But he is a player that fits the system, fits the team, fits the squad, fits Eddie Howe to an absolute T. He is perfect for what we're trying to do. And I genuinely believe the great performances that he's put in for Leicester over the last few years, I genuinely believe he's going to go up a notch. He's 25. He's got loads of room to grow. And I think he's going to really excel in this team. He talks well, very well educated, talks well. He's excited about the move. But he has everything we need. Explosive pace, the ability to link the play, can get up and down. But the key is that he can set up goals and he can finish. And that's exactly what Newcastle United in wide areas have been lacking. We had a purple patch from Miguel Almiron last season, but what you're going to get from Harvey Barnes is a consistent, over the course of the season, contribution, either goals or assists. I think he's going to be loved by Newcastle fans. I'm going to be honest. I'm really excited about this deal. And although other players have gone to other clubs that we would have loved to come to Newcastle, I think he's going to be the one that we look back at the end of this season to come and go, you know what a signing he is. So I'm absolutely buzzing about it. And what I love more than anything is that the Leicester fans have turned around and gone, yeah, he's rubbish. We don't want him anyway. I'm just bottling up those tears and I'm drinking it, and they're all in here right now. I'm drinking them all down because I tell you
You're going to need a bigger glass, Pete.
I am going to need a bigger glass, and I've got a fresh bottle here to put them in once I get through this. And the reason being is because I've heard for 3 years about how amazing Harvey Barnes is and how he should be starting for England and how great he is. And all of a sudden, it's turned. They don't want him. They want him out the club, blah, 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 blah. Top scorer last season. Don't forget that, Leicester fans. But anyway, very, very excited about this deal. So, yeah, buzzing that he's in the club.
Well, it took a while, people. You finally got one over the Leicester lads. So you finally got someone in the bag. Yeah, it's just speaking of Leicester, he made a nice little tribute he gave. I'm not going to read this out, and there's a lot in it, but he's been at Leicester since he was 9, and he paid a good tribute towards Leicester as he departed. But Chris, we'll get your thoughts now on Harvey Barnes, and I think you've been watching some of the videos and stuff today, but he got to meet the main man, and that was the main thing. Once he's met the main man, that's it. You know, everything else is golden. But Chris, your thoughts on Harvey Barnes coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I've totally missed what Pete said, so I apologise if I repeat myself. But I did do a little cameo at the start, as you pointed out, Daz. So no, I mean, I'm delighted that we've got signing number 3 through the door. As I say, I'm going to include Minter in that because I think I was having a discussion with our Callum today, and we were watching like little clips of Harvey Barnes. He was very excited about Dan Juma, who Everton have just signed today. So we were comparing the two and, you know, watching videos and stuff. The thing that excites me most about Harvey Barnes, and the thing that stood out for me when I was looking at all highlights of him, is how direct he is. Now, obviously, we know Maxi was an enigma, wasn't he? He was somebody who would get you off your seat. He's somebody who, you know, would do the unexpected, produce moments of brilliance. But then we'd also see periods or times where Maxi, you know, would either go missing or he wouldn't be at it, or, you know, he'd hobble off. And from what I've seen of Harvey Barnes, he's somebody who's a bit of a steady Eddie. Sorry to use that phrase, but, you know, he's someone who will consistently turn up and who you know, one of his first thoughts is to get a shot off. That's certainly from what I've seen of the highlights, and his goals from last season will demonstrate that. Comfortable on both feet. Not somebody who likes to take people on necessarily like Maxi would, but that he's got that turn of pace. He's very, very quick. And I think with him being so direct and with him being someone who likes to get about the pitch and also do his defensive duties as well, I think it's very, very exciting because once Eddie Howe gets a grip of him, you know, coaches him in the way that Newcastle play, we could have one hell of a player on our hands, boys.
Cheers, Chris. Richie, I'm going to put the same question to you, but I'm going to add the bit to it, right? I know Barnes is English and plays for England, and ASM would like to play for France, but you're going to a World Cup tournament. You can bring one player with you. Would you bring ASM or would you bring Barnes?
It's a difficult one because I think this is why a lot of Newcastle fans are split on them coming in and obviously Maxi go out, because there's a lot of people who thought that, you know, going to the Champions League, that Maxi would excel in some of the games, especially under the lights at St James's Park. And it's the same thing. It's like you go to a World Cup with them in your squad and you have someone who can do something that no other can. They can just change a game like that and stuff like that. But I think the most telling thing is it's the end product sort of thing. And we've said it, we've highlighted it quite a lot. And, you know, it could be different if he wasn't, if actually wasn't the France squad with the quality that be in and around him, that he might be able to create these chances. That obviously we've said that one of the things that never really backed up how good Maxi was chances created. It's not his fault the supporting cast around him couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. If he was at the World Cup with France and with the quality around him, you'd expect that some of the supporting cast would put away some of the chances he did create. But I think if you look at the stats, especially with Harvey Barnes last year, I think it was 25 goal contributions, in like goals and assists. I think he got something like that. Was it? Sorry, 13 goals. It was. I'm getting mixed up 2 seasons, but look, you've got the end products there. Full stop. So you know, it's you're right. He's like, as Chris said, he's a different sort of player to what Alan Sam-Maximin is. That maverick, that mercurial player who will get you off your seats and do something like we saw when he played against Man City at home last year. You know, I think we all watched that when I was at that game. I don't know if anyone else was at that game with us, but it was just one of those ones where it was just a pleasure to see him, you know, going at the league champions. Obviously they are now, but one of the best teams in the league, and literally just tearing them apart. The problem was his consistency, that he couldn't do it on a game-to-game basis. Whereas Barnes, as we've said, he delivers. You know, if he delivered every other game, you're more than happy with that. So you know, you'd expect to see 13 goals scored in a average side last year. What's he going to be capable of in a team with extra quality around him? And I don't know if anyone else has actually managed to see it. I think Pete mentioned it the other day, actually, on Thursday night when we talked about the 4-4-2 video. It's a really, really good comparison if you get a chance to watch it, about the move, the comparisons between Alan Sam-Maximin and Harvey Barnes. Why, you know, is it an upgrade or isn't it an upgrade? And there's different little stats, but it's the 2 different types of players. So you can't really yes, they play the same position, but you can't compare them. Because, you know, I think Alan Sam-Maximin was in the 95th percentile for take-ons. He was the league leader, whereas Harvey Barnes doesn't take a man on. He was in the lowest 2% of people to take a person on.
Yeah.
But what he does, he's a lot like what Miggy is on the right-hand side, where you obviously we've seen over the last year in particular, last season in particular, the little intricate 1-2s that him and Bruno had going all season. I think you'll see a lot of that on the left-hand side as well, because Harvey Barnes has made that 1-2 that his, you know, obviously I know Pete watches a lot of Leicester from being down there and had a lot of friends. That little 1-2 he has on the left-hand side, he's made his own. But the thing is, though, he's got that end product. A bit like what Miggy had last season, he's got that end product coming off the right-hand side. So if you've got the mirror image on both sides and you've got a 13-goal contribution and someone with 11-goal contribution on the other side, 24 goals off your flanks, I think everyone would take that hands down. So different kettle of fish to Maxi. And I think I'd always have end product over mercurial talent, possibly any day of the week, unfortunately.
You're boring, Richie. Yeah, no.
Do you know the Regasco are 2 of my favourite players of all time, and they were mercurial talents. So
I know. I'm only joking. But before I give my take, just a reminder for people to hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe. I'm going to set a target 400 likes. It's a Sunday evening. People are probably waiting for the match later on. So yeah, there it is. Thanks for watching. Like and comment and subscribe. So yeah, 400 likes is the target. So for me, I'm going to come at 2 different angles, because I've said in the past, I do like Harvey Barnes. I like what he produces. I think I even said maybe totally different to Madison, but he's not far off of what I would want as well. But at the same time I said on the previous show that when I'm looking at all the players in the world, anyone Newcastle could look at, I don't think Harvey Barnes would be in my top 20 to take. But I trust Eddie Howe. I trust the process. I trust what they're doing. I know Eddie Howe will get the best out of Harvey Barnes. I think when I always had this idea in my head that Harvey Barnes was younger than he actually is, so he's 25. I always thought he was around 23 kind of mark. But so he's at the stage now where he's going to peak. So we want Eddie Howe to get the best out of him. I think he will. I think he will be a great signing for us. And 38 million, it's not too bad, you know. It's I wouldn't have been going near him at 50 million, so 38 million I can take. And it is then difficult to talk about this bringing in Harvey Barnes and not to mention ASM, because it's one in, one out here. What's happening? But we'll leave the talk of ASM really until we have a final confirmation that he's gone. But what are you going to tell me here?
Next, Richie put it in our chat. I believe is there a here we go with ASM?
Yeah, I had the comment started on the bottom of the screen. Yeah, Fabrizio Romano's given the here we go to verbal agreements in place between Newcastle and Al Ahly for the transfer of Alan Sam-Maximin. Nothing. I don't think anything was mentioned. Obviously, I've just literally saw a comment. I think it was off Simon in the chat I looked down an hour. I don't know if there's any mention of fee, like confirmed fee, but that verbal agreement in there, and the Romano here we goes there. So I think we can probably see. It was like we always thought was going to probably happen within 24 hours of each other. The two transfers, and it has. So
well, welcome to the ASM all of our preview show, and here we are. ASM sold to Saudi. So you look at that. It's great to be prepared. But yeah, so finishing up on Harvey Barnes. Anyone else want to say anything else on Harvey Barnes?
I tell you, I don't know if anyone else noticed, but did anyone see the picture of the squad on the steps, the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia?
Yes.
The other one,
Yeah.
Yep.
This
And
one.
obviously there was the one the club put on. Yeah, that's the one. And obviously Harvey Barnes is stood between Jamal Lascelles and Anthony Gordon, if you can actually see on that picture. Now the interesting thing was he's actually, if you look where, obviously you can see Anthony Gordon on the right hand side with the bright blonde hair, and then you've got Harvey Barnes next to him. And obviously then Jamal Lascelles, and then you've got Lewis Miley behind him. Now, the interesting thing is that this picture was actually released after the announcement, but there was someone that actually took a picture on, as they do, all the Newcastle fans over there, took the picture from the left-hand side, and you actually see Harvey Barnes on the picture before the announcement was made. So that was, you know what Newcastle fans are like, always looking for an angle on something. I noticed it. It was very, very cleverly done, but the thing was that nobody actually mentioned and picked up on it from the picture, which was interesting. But I had seen it, so it was quite cool. But I think it'll be a good signing for Newcastle. I know that the rest of the lads will. And yes, and I'll admit I did put my hands up and said I prefer the players. But at the end of the day, we've always said that. Now, as soon as someone puts that black and white shirt on,
that's it.
You'll back them. I think you've got that sort of. The testament of what the Newcastle fans have been, and I think it's proven by the Anthony Gordon sale. It was like Anthony, obviously, with the sale to Newcastle from Everton in January. There wasn't a lot of people that wanted him, but there's a lot more starting to turn. Obviously, the way he started to improve towards the end of the season, he's got his fitness level up. The amount of Newcastle fans backed him at the England tournament when obviously, they saw how good he played, and there came back as most valuable player from that tournament and stuff like that. So it's interesting how things turn. It'll be nice to see how they take Harvey Barnes, knowing he's already got that quality and experience in the Premier League. Just because we didn't sign, unfortunately, a player that we all wanted, who we're probably going to come up against tonight in the friendly. And hopefully he doesn't hit the ground running tonight. Unfortunately, yeah, that's the one. Hopefully we don't come up against. He has a good game tonight, but there we go anyway.
But doesn't it just go to show is that how we've evolved as a fan base already? Yeah. So one thing I talked about when the takeover happened is that as a fan base, I didn't want the fan base to get sort of ahead of itself. And already we're kind of there's a lot you see it on social media that we're now looking at these star-studded players, and we want these star-studded players ahead of players that are Premier League proven, that are not the star name. Harvey Barnes isn't the star name, of course he's not, as I said earlier. But what he will give you is exactly what the team needs. You only have to go back to Dan Burn. You only have to go back to Matt Targett on loan. You have to go back to Nick Pope. Players like that are not star-studded names, but what they've done is created a massive moment within the squad, and now they're seen as household names that we wouldn't even think about getting rid of. Dan Burns just signed his new extension. And this is the thing, is that I think if anything this summer has taught me is not to get heavily invested in certain players, because we might get reports of certain things with regards to players, Moussa Diaby being one of them, Federico Chiesa, there's many others, but I'm not getting attached to players anymore because as it's already been proven that there's no guarantee that one, that Newcastle are even interested in these players, and two, there's no guarantee that they're going to come to the club. And it's about looking at what's best for the team, and that's exactly what Eddie Howe does, and he's proven it not just at Newcastle, but he proved it at Bournemouth too.
This just to pinch the chat a moment, this comment from Geordie Toon for Life kind of sums up what you were saying, Pete. We don't buy big names, we make them, and you only have to look at. I funnily enough, I was kind of reminiscing today, thinking about St. Maximin and him leaving and Harvey Barnes coming in, and I'd kind of, like I say, prepared myself for us not to get Harvey Barnes. And then when Harvey Barnes obviously was announced today, and I think we've known in the last 24, 48 hours that Harvey Barnes was coming in. And I don't want this to seem like I'm putting a downer on it. I'm absolutely not, because we said at the start of this transfer window that whoever Eddie Howe wants, I want. Yeah, Eddie Howe could go and sign a player who I don't particularly rate, and I'm not saying that about Barnes, by the way. But I mean, he could go out and sign a player I don't particularly rate. But because of that trust and because of that belief that we have in Eddie Howe, then we will get behind the players. And obviously, as you say, Pete, as soon as they pull on a black and white shirt, we get behind them regardless. But you only have to look at, the likes of, and these are just two names that sprung to mind today for me, Sadio Mane, when Liverpool signed him from Southampton, and everyone was a bit like, is he a Liverpool player?
Yeah.
Diogo Jota. Pedro Neto was getting all the headlines at Wolves, and then Liverpool came in and bought Diogo Jota, and everyone was like, 35, 38 million? Seems a bit expensive. And then all of a sudden, Diogo Jota has now created a space for himself in this Liverpool team, as Sadio Mane did. And not many people would have rivaled them for that signature. I think Liverpool had a free run at both. And you could argue that that's kind of been the case with Harvey Barnes. We've stole him, got him. And from what we've heard, it was only the likes of West Ham who were interested in him. None of the other top six were after him. But that's not to say that he can't become a top six player. And that's why I like that comment from Jordy Toon for life. It's not to say that can't happen.
Just to add to that, Aston Villa were interested in him. Aston Villa were more interested in him earlier on in the window than we were. So it was West Ham and Villa that were fighting out for him. But doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? Is that they were interested in Harvey Barnes first, but because he solidified his interest with Newcastle, they then went and got Moussa Diaby. I think that tells you everything you need to know about what Newcastle's stance were from Moussa Diaby. There's reports out there that we were actually interested in Moussa. Moussa Diaby actually wanted to come to us, but we didn't want him. There's talk of his defensive ability being questioned, which is why Newcastle didn't approach him and why we went for Harvey Barnes. So it's really interesting that Villa wanted Harvey Barnes more than we did, but yet we went and got him, and they ended up with Moussa Diaby. So it could well turn out that he might well be great at Aston Villa, but it might turn out that eventually we've got the better deal over a period of time. So we have to see that.
I think the telling thing for me is if you look at Daz, just going off, obviously there was a lot of room, talk about the Maddison that he turned us down, and obviously he went to Spurs and stuff, and then the same as two and Diop with obviously Diaby now at Villa. But the funny thing is, though, I think if Newcastle had followed up the interest of from last year, with Maddison Diaby, I think you'd see both of those players in a Newcastle shirt. I think it's literally down to the fact that Newcastle didn't follow up the interest that those two moves didn't happen. If you look at the Botman deal, we followed that up because we knew he was the player we wanted in that position, and we decided to go back and get him at the right price and the right deal and stuff. And that's the thing. Another thing is, we've always said it has to be the right deal for the club as well. If you've got Leicester who are wanting more money than what they actually think he's worth and stuff like that, then fair enough, you walk away. And that's the same with the Diaby. We don't know, obviously, I don't know. Does anyone actually hear a price for how much Diaby went to Villa for? I haven't been really on social media today to look at that sort of thing. But, if they've paid over the odds for him, then so be it. Do you know what I mean? I
think it was 50, Rich.
I saw 50 last I heard as well.
Million euro.
We offered 50 last year and they turned it down.
Early 40s. I think it ended up being.
See, I think Newcastle, we probably went up to 40 from bear in mind. We bid 50 from last summer, wasn't it? And obviously it was knocked back. So, you're probably realistic with his contract left on, and obviously there's no Champions League football from Leverkusen. Newcastle in a much better bargaining position to probably pay roughly what they've paid for Harvey Barnes. And obviously the end of the prices, you've got Barnes cheaper than what you have for the Diaby, who, as we know, he's got the Premier League experience and the quality and done it and stuff like that. So, and there was an interesting point that someone's put in the chat. Obviously, I was going to bring it up towards the end, but just going on comparisons, 9 NUFC, he reckons that Barnes outscores Diaby this season without a doubt. Diaby is an exciting player, but won't be as productive as Barnes. I don't know if. Do you both see that? Or do you all see that at all?
Do you know what, Rich? He might be right. He might be right. Diaby could be another another St. Maximin without linking the two too much. But, you know, he could be another one of those mercurial players where you see him score a fantastic goal and we're all going, oh my God, he's brilliant, he's this, he's that. And then you speak to an Aston Villa player, fan, and they go, yeah, he's really good, but sometimes he goes missing, or, you know, he's not very good defensively, or you see one good game in 6 or something like that. And they're things you've got to be worried about. And I'm not here to bash Diaby, by the way, but all of the media stuff that's come out recently, you know, we've heard that apparently Diaby has arranged to live in London, and then the club have got to sort his travel out. So he's going to live in London, but he's going to travel to the Midlands. Who's to say that when we've gone in for Diaby, his agent said that, and we've just gone, nah, cheers, mate, thanks very much, no time.
Yeah, not committed then.
That's not good if that's the case. I don't know whether that's true. It could all be a load of rubbish, but something like that is enough to put you off.
I heard the same, Chris. You know, that could well be a massive factor in that, and it goes back to then Maddison. You know, how many times were we told, and there was many a journalist that mentioned it, that they weren't convinced that Maddison was 100% on signing for Newcastle, and it turned out to be money with the reason why he went to Tottenham rather than Newcastle in the end, because he got 170 grand a week rather than a little bit less at Newcastle. And you got to weigh up. Newcastle want players that are fully committed, all in. You guys have listened to the interview. You've heard Harvey Barnes today. He is fully committed.
His dad was buzzing. He said his dad was looking around all starry-eyed, and then he said, "I can't wait for me, my wife, my family to all move into Newcastle." He's fully in. He's fully in.
He's completely like it emerged into the project and what we're trying to do. That's the kind of player that we want. That is it. Like, that's what we want. Players that are fully committed to Newcastle United, no half-heartedness, and it goes back to then the Tonali situation, because you got AC Milan fans and other fans question Sandro Tonali. Sandro Tonali would not have come to Newcastle if he wasn't convinced that this was the right move for him. 100%.
Question for Chris: are you still going to have Diaby in your fantasy football team, though? Because that's what you alluded to last night.
Yes, I mean, I'll be honest, as soon as I, heard about Diaby moving, I did think, I must check. And weirdly, it's hot off the press, I logged on last night to add Diaby, but he's not been added onto the thing yet. He might be added today, but he wasn't last night, because I've also put Pau Torres in there for anyone who wanted to know. Pau Torres is in there in my team, because I you know what? Genuinely, I do think Villa have had a good transfer window, and I think that they will kick on. And this is obviously Emery's first full season, so I'm not saying that we got Harvey Barnes, you got Diaby. I'm really you've wasted your money. Harvey Barnes are going to be Villa. I'm not saying that, but based on what we've just been speaking about, about the whole London thing, about the fact that he was sniffing around Saudi Arabia. Obviously, he's rejected it by the looks, but all these little doubts. Whereas we're then seeing interviews with Harvey Barnes. He's come straight to America. He's been training with the lads, which was a nice surprise because none of us knew that. That's why he's in contention tonight, apparently. And he's talking about, integrating himself into the Northeast. Can't wait to get started. Big grin on his face. All the signs are good. And we've got a proven Premier League player who we know can do the business. And he did it in a relegated Leicester side as well. So I'm starting to convince myself now.
Cool. Okay, we're going to start moving away from Harvey Barnes pretty soon, because we'll never stick to one topic in this show. But if you look at this picture, the steps, the rocky steps, you can see Keith Downey running up, and on one side you can see Adam P running up the other side, and Craig Hope. They all had to go running up those steps. But why not? While you're
I think George Culkin did it as well.
Did he, George?
I think so, yeah.
My money's on George in a race there, though. Right. Let's move to the other topic, and the other one that's buzzing around, chopping and changing, started at 12 million, has gone considerably higher, is Tino Livramento. Who knows what's happening there now? It's all a bit of more discussions on the feed. Do you think this one will get done, lads? Pete, we'll go to you.
I don't think anyone knows what's going on with Tino Livramento. If anyone's being really honest, I think people are just reacting to what news might be coming out. if it was Friday, we were being told that he was on his way up for a medical at one point.
Yeah.
Medicals were booked in and that it was going to be done. Then to wake up at the weekend and be told something very, very different from people related to the Southampton side. And then he plays in the friendly. So I don't think anyone really knows what's happening with him. Are Newcastle interested? 100%. He's a talented boy. I think a lot of fans, and rightly so, would have forgotten about how good Tino Livramento is because he's been injured for about a year when he did his ACL. So no one's really seen him play this season. But watching him in his first season at Southampton, the guy was one of the best performing right backs in the Premier League. Like, there's no doubt about it. And he will seriously improve the team if we get the deal done. That's a completely different conversation with regards to how much it's going to take to get him out of Southampton. And that's a separate conversation there. But in terms of what we know, I have no idea. Some people are saying medicals on Monday. It's all right having medicals on Monday, but you got to agree free. You got to agree to do a medical.
We'll sort that out later.
Medicals Monday. Bad.
Just send him up to Newcastle and get a medical done, and then we'll agree the fee later on down the line. So yeah, look, the clock's ticking with regards to Monday. Hopefully, I'm wrong, and he is doing a medical on Monday. But this one seems like it's going to rumble on for a little bit longer, in my opinion.
The old medical free checkup for Tino. Well, Graham Bailey did say on Thursday that it wasn't as close as everyone was saying. So Graham, a person people love to hate. But
he also said that Shaw didn't have a good season last season. So
yeah. And Joe Linton won't play for us ever again, kind of thing. He won't get a game.
He's moved on from the ASM situation.
Yeah,
ASM gone. He brings in two more topics of controversy. Good old Graham. Jesus.
Yeah. He was very complimentary about Harvey Barnes, though, to be fair. Very
complimentary.
He was.
Of course. Yeah, he said his goodbyes to ASM as well. Yeah, but okay. Chris, question for you. Where do you tap out on Tino? What is your upper limit?
That's a really good question, Daz. So,
great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Do you know what? I think for me, I would feel uncomfortable. Paying any more than 30 million. I've got to be honest. And the only reason I say that is because he's been out the majority of last season. Yes, he's come back, and he seems to have made a good comeback. I don't know how he got on yesterday in the friendly, but I know he played. So for me, I would say no more than 30, and there's a couple of reasons for that. As I say, the injuries is one. The second one is the fact that Southampton got relegated, and the third reason being is that I just think I think the risks with Newcastle. He's a great age, fair to say he is, and I know there was a bit of arguments with Graham as to what classified as a great age, but we can say that Tino Livramento is a great age. But I think for me, anything over 30. What I did want to, I'll bounce one straight back to you, actually, Daz. What I did want to throw in, and to you boys as well. Open it out to you boys. Somebody mentioned, I was having a chat with someone on Twitter, and somebody mentioned, maybe to get round this Chelsea clause, maybe we could swap a few players to bring the price of the deal up. And it just got me thinking that. And I was thinking, if let's say, I don't know, say we bid 20 million and Southampton say we want 35 or 40 or whatever it may be. Yeah. Is there any players from Newcastle who we could kind of include in the deal? And I don't know how these clause deals work and whether Chelsea go, well, he's worth 8 million in that deal, so you still owe us 30% of the 8 million that player's worth, or whether because it was swap deals for players, because it's not hard cash, then they can't take the money. So, I mean, if that was the case, Daz, who do you think would be most likely from your Newcastle squad? Who do you think we could give to Southampton in order to kind of top up the Livramento deal?
I'd say it would be the overall valuation of the transfer deal that Chelsea would get that percentage of. So it wouldn't matter if it was a player or not. That's my guess. Who could we give? There's plenty we could offload. The Irish Pelly, Ryan Fraser, Loads of them, loads. Like looks like Jamal Lascelles is sticking around now as well for a while. Who would because it was said first as well. I saw one tweet about in the original deal, Fraser was part of it. So I don't know who would they be willing to take. So that's the big question as well. And the wages as well. Are we going to have to pay them off some way as well to get to offload them? So I'm sure that all those kind of conversations are ongoing, Chris. But no one knows what's happening.
We don't, mate. And as Pete said, we genuinely don't know, do we? This is the thing. You know, we hear from some in the nose who say it's nearly done. You know, we hear journalists saying it's nearly done and that this is the fee, and then we find out it's not nearly done. And in fairness, you know, it shows how clever the club are being, because was it less than 24 hours ago, Eddie Howe was like, yeah, I can't really talk about Harvey Barnes, he's a Leicester player and blah, blah, blah. And it turns out when he had that interview, I think Harvey Barnes was probably in Philly with him at the time when he said it. So we can't believe anything.
Yeah, never trust Eddie. No. Never trust him. Go on.
Maxie's just put a story out on Instagram with these war flags, the picture of him with the number 10. So I imagine that will be something that he'll put out very, very soon.
Yeah. We could be back again with another show for that. We'll see how it plays out. But I think there's something in the chat as well. Was there a super chat?
There was.
Super chat received.
Oh. Yeah, there you go.
There it is. Not much, but just
Sorry to hear that, Will. Not much, but just thanks for brightening up my day as I'm grieving. Love the channel. Not grieving is, Will, but obviously all the channel and the chat are in support of you. Hope you're well. And obviously, thank you for your donation to the channel. We all massively appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Sorry to hear that. Right, let's move on. Richie, I'll go to you. And a question on Tino Livramento. Okay, so there's a lot of talk about Tino coming in, but and then will he play left, right? Will Trippier move to the left? And then there's also talk of Hall as well from Chelsea being in the mix. So do you think we go for another full back after we eventually bring in Livramento? Hopefully.
I don't know. I don't think you would go for two fullbacks on a permanent deal. I think the rumor is about the Lewis Hall one. It would possibly be a loan with either a possible obligation option to buy in if it was to come in. But I don't know. I think it really, really depends, because realistically, you've got Target there. You've got Lewis as a left back. Obviously, I know he's been playing a bit further forward, and to be fair, I think he's probably going to move on. Dan Burns is left. I don't know. I think you do need another out and out left back, but it's just whether the club will see that. Obviously, we keep getting this FFP lark and stuff, and you can only do so much transfers, and for me, I think there's still other priorities out there we need to, fill first. It could be, as I think, was it catching up on what Graham said the other day. And to be fair, backed up what Keith Downey said on Adam Pearson's video, and when they were talking Philadelphia the other night, was there could be a few loans at the end of the window. I think that's probably where you'll see, potential fullback. It all depends on what outgoings we've got. Target might decide he doesn't want to stay and be, back up again. He wants to be playing. He's getting to that part in his career when he wants to play in week in, week out. There's still rumours that Manquillo could be on his way back to Spain. We don't know how fit Kraft's going to be. Obviously, we've seen him in some of the training videos. But obviously, he's just come back from a bad ACL. Go back, he could be someone that, I think someone mentioned in the chat as well, he could be someone that gets loaned to Southampton as a make weight. Do you know what I mean? They lose a right back, they gain one to cover for a year, something like that. He gets him a bit more fitness and stuff like that, and he'd probably do well playing a season down the Championship. That could be wonders for his career. Also, it all depends. I would say get your positions that will need to be done as a priority first, and then see where we are at the end of the window, where we could possibly have loans and stuff like that.
Cool. Cool. Right, let's move on. Let's go to the summer series, which has already kicked off in the States. Here are the fixtures, and you will see that our first game is tonight at midnight. So yes, against Villa. So lads, I know we should have started talking before the show that a few of you are staying up to watch that one. I won't get to stay up. I'm up early. I'm in the office tomorrow, so I won't get to stay up. But looking forward to the game. What are you expecting? I know it's only preseason friendly, but it's against Villa. Pete.
I'm expecting a stronger team to start. Whether it's the strongest team, I don't know. The likes of Harvey Barnes won't start. He'll probably come on later on in the game, probably second half. He's been training longer than all the other Newcastle players because Leicester came back from pre-season a little bit earlier. So I think that I think we'll go for a strong team. It'd be nice to see, if I'm honest with you, Bruno and Tonali in the same midfield. I'd like them to play together tonight. To try and start to build up that partnership. We had a picture of them on a previous show with them together traveling to the US. That's not by chance. Eddie Howe and Jason Tinder would have thought about that very, very carefully in putting those two together to build up that partnership. They would want to build up that partnership because that is the partnership that could win games for Newcastle next season, and them playing together. So I'd like them to play together. It's been good to see Pope back in training. I don't know if he'll play. I think they'll go with Harris again. Who maybe will play against Brighton or Chelsea in the next couple. But I just want to see a good performance. I want to see us play the way we played against Rangers, certainly in the first half. Of course, I'd love us to win, but you never know in these series. I just want to see us play well, and have that attacking threat. Because that's going to be the key going forward this season is how good we are attacking. And of course, it's better. So a win would always go down a treat.
Excellent. Chris, we're going to go to you, and of course in the States it's nice and hot, whereas in here it's not always. It's a bit rainy where I am at the moment, but it's a bit. There was a sign we needed this song, but where's she gone?
She's gone now.
Welcome, Summer. You're back.
You're back, aren't you, kid? She's back.
Your daddy will play it back later on.
I will.
Chris, what are you expecting from the game later on?
I don't really know what to expect, to be honest. I think some people in the chat have been saying like they're looking forward to seeing Tonali and Bruno in the middle, and I'm absolutely in agreement with that. I'd love to see Bruno and Tonali in the middle, and I'd love to see Anthony Gordon on the right. Can't lie, I really want to see what Anthony Gordon can give us on that right hand side. Obviously, if we get to see Harvey Barnes, that'd be brilliant. And do you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing Karius get a bit more game time as well. He's played so little for us, but he looks really composed, and I do feel harsh for him that his only competitive game was in that final. And I just think, if he could get a little run of games together, it'd be good to see what he's like over an extended period. So that would be my hope. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. I just can't wait to see what we're like tested against, as I say, fellow Premier League opposition. I think it'll just be an interesting test to see where we are.
Yeah, I imagine he'll still kind of rotate it a good bit because until we get to the Cellar Cup, that's where he gets closer to his. So one of those games, and he'll get closer to his final squad. But Richie, you're no stranger to staying up late watching games in the States. You do this for a living, nearly, following your American football. But are you looking forward to it?
I am, yeah. It's nice to be part of the bigger sort of there's a little bit of a competitive aspect to the pre-season. We know it's all about fitness and stuff like that, but it seems to have a bit more of a meaning. There's a lot of you can guarantee if obviously touch wood, it didn't happen. But if Villa turn around and beat Newcastle tonight, obviously we would be like, all right, it's just the preseason ready. Imagine Villa watch be straight on with the Twitter having to go straight away and try to have our life sort of thing. So
he's a nightmare, isn't he? I say I'm so tempted to bite all the time, and I just go, no, don't do it.
But you know that the funny thing though, Chris, is the first person to bite will be Mart. Because he guarantees he's always he's always had that little dig with the Villa watch. So, do you know what? So yeah, I do like the little competitive. And I like the fact that we're playing better quality opposition, especially we had that last season as well. And this is no disrespect to you being in Islanders, but when you're playing like Bohemians and Galway and stuff, it's good for you guys to obviously see the club, but it's not really the competitive opposition that you really want to see. Because the better players that you're playing against, obviously it worked better for you in preseason. But what I want tonight from the match myself is I just want, obviously, it's about getting minutes under the belt, a good, decent performance. Not about necessarily about winning, and I'm not necessarily, like Foxy says as well, I'm not really bothered about seeing our first team out there as the main team, because obviously we play Villa first game of the season, and what, 3 weeks or something like that now, which it seems weird to think the first Premier League game of the season is 3 weeks' time. And obviously you don't want to have happen to you like what happened to Arsenal last night, where Arsenal had a pretty much full strength team out with all the the new teams out. That Timber, they had Rice in the team, and you had Man United with probably 6 first teamers tearing apart first off. And I didn't get to watch it, but the commentary between obviously Chris and Pete in our chat last night going through it, and how bad Havertz and how Arsenal was appalling. But obviously, I look at the team lineup now and thinking, well, how the hell are Arsenal getting beat off this? And I don't want that. I don't want us to have our first team 11 out, have a shitter. Do you know what I mean? And then everyone goes, oh, well, look, Newcastle, they've got, Tonali was in there as well, and it's pretty much full strength. And I know we don't want to look at it, but there's a lot of people who will turn negative straight away. And we've seen what our, NUFC Twitter can be like sometimes. Sometimes it can be really good. Sometimes it can be really negative and stuff like that and horrible to be part of. But I think I just would like to see a good solid performance, lots of minutes under the belt, and just get, I'd like to see Bruno and Tonali play it together at some capacity, something like half an hour or something like that, at least, just to get that understanding, because they're going to be integral to the way Newcastle play this season.
Nice one, Richie. Maybe we'll just say a reminder again: hit that like button if you're new, hit the subscribe button. But let's go to the chat and see do we have any questions in the chat as we start to round off the show, because we said we do an hour tonight. What have we got?
Adam put a good one in before. I thought was interesting. Obviously, I'm waiting for you'll probably read the comment by the time it comes up. Imagine. So hang on. Since Loaded started, we've signed a player from, I presume this is Galway, obviously Alex Murphy.
Oh, is that Galway?
Yeah, that's Galway, so that's Alex Murphy. Liverpool, Anthony Gordon, as an Evan, and now Harvey Barnes from Leicester. So is this why Mark left, because he had no chance of joining the club? Which I thought was quite funny. So that was a nice little one in there, Adam, as a reflection, how the Loaded boys have had a rub off on players coming into the club there. So that was quite cool. Craig Lee has put in about, this has been lingered on again as well. You think as much in the Disassi rumours, they aren't going away much. They go a bit quiet, then obviously you see them pop up at the moment. I know, Pete, what have you heard anything more on Alex Disassi? Obviously, I know your Lee's obviously follows French football a lot and stuff like that. And has he heard anything on potentially on that topic?
No, not really. To be honest, I just don't see it. I really don't. I don't see it happening. I think there are other probably better centre backs out there. As I put on another show, I mentioned on another show before, when I spoke to Lee about it, he felt that there were other centre backs that are better out there. He says the one thing that he hasn't sort of developed in his game is to cut out the mistakes. He is partial to a huge clangor here and there. So, is that someone that we want in our team? Is that someone that we want to take a risk on potentially? There are elements of his game that are really good, but I don't see it, and I don't see it for the type of money that they're looking for, to be honest. But I could be wrong. Who knows?
On that one, Richie, there's been one or two players that popped up links, and normally just go to YouTube if you don't know much about them, look them up, do the old Dennis Wise, but haven't even bothered with certain ones, and he's one of them. It's been kind of talked about that it's kind of agent driven, that one, so I just kind of it can wait unless it gets more solid.
Yeah, Tom putting in at the start of the show. Obviously, we've discussed both players tonight, but obviously there was the rumours that Newcastle have had the bid of 30 million rejected by Southampton. Does anyone think we'd actually go above that just to sign Livramento?
I suppose it depends how much we want him. I mean, I totally get why we want him, because he does tick a lot of boxes. He can play right back, he can play left back, as can Kieran Trippier. He's very much, for me, he's very much a signing for the future. He's somebody who could probably come in and do a job now, if Trippier was out. But on the other hand, he's 20, and he could arguably be our permanent right back for the next 10 years. So I can see why the club are interested in him, but it just depends how interested and how much they want him as to whether or not we'll go above 30 million. But I do see why they want him, because as I say, we've been told in the past that it's not always, in my opinion, and I think a lot of journalists and media people have said this. We'll have we want a right centre back, we want a centre mid, and we want a number 10. If everyone's to be believed, that's apparently what we want. Maybe even left back as well. But if we've got a list of players for every single position, and one of those players becomes available or is possibly available, I can see why we'd sacrifice bringing in a player that we probably arguably need more, but and go for a player who, yes, we don't desperately need a right back at this present moment. Some may say we do, some may say we don't. But if you can get this player in now for a reasonable price, and then you don't have to worry about right back for the next 4, 5, 6 years, why would you not do that? So, to me, Rich, to answer the question, I think it's just how much we want him.
For me, there's no guarantee that Trippier is going to play every game next season. You add Champions League to that, so you've got at least another 6 games to add. He's going to be 33 years old this season. I think sometimes because Trippier is so good and he's the captain when we're on the pitch, that we just kind of expect he's going to be there. Trippier is knocking on. And to be fair, if you listen to his interviews, he'll tell you the fact that he's knocking on and he's not going to be there long term. And so for me, I think it's brilliant planning ahead if you're going to get someone like him in the door. Now, as you mentioned, Chris, it's whether we're going to pay that money to get him in the door. For me, I'd probably go to about 35, with maybe a few million with add-ons based on performances. If the club going to do that, I've got no idea. But for me, I think he will be a top player. And if we were to miss out on him, I think we'd be having a conversation until 3 years' time to go, we have a chance of getting him at that price. We may have missed out on something there, because everyone's talking about the injury, and rightly so. Should we pay 30+ million on a player that's just come back from an ACL injury? But I completely agree with all of that conversation.
Yeah.
But I just think the potential that he's got there, we could have that right back situation nailed down, in that we can allow Trippier a rest here and there, certain games where he can get a rest and not play, and have Livramento be there and offer something different in certain games next season, and then transition Trippier out the team over the next 2 or 3 years. And I think that's really, really good planning from the club if they do that. To add on the Lewis Hall situation, Newcastle have always proven that if there's a player available and it's the right price, go and get him. We've done that. We've signed players like Anthony Gordon. We didn't need to sign him in January, but we did it because it was the right price at the right time. They're the type of players that we're looking at. And there's no guarantee that if Livramento has a great season and gets Southampton promoted next season, that they can go back to demanding 40, 50 million. And they could. It's as simple as that now. As I mentioned on socials, Chelsea got around a 30, maybe a little bit more of a 30% buyback clause, or a certain 30% percentage of the fee in whatever he's sold for. That's the reason why he's going for that sort of price. I think if Newcastle slapped 20 million down and there wasn't that 30% on there, it'd already be wearing a Newcastle shirt right now. And so that's the situation that we are. I mean, there's lots of other players out there, of course. I think George Flash just put Rico Henry. We've talked about him before. He's a great option at left back. But Newcastle are looking at young players with potential to grow and develop and be the next phase of Newcastle. George Flash, you said it yourself. We want players to be signed to be the next star, not the current star. And Tino Livramento is certainly that.
Yeah, it's all lining up for us winning the league in 2030. That'd be nice. Richie, any other question?
Don't want to wait that long, Daz. Don't want to wait that long.
There's two more questions in the chat. I know obviously I know it's 9 o'clock and Chris want to go. You want for these next two questions maybe before you
of course, mate. Yeah, of course.
Our good friend Dor from Dor on tour. Obviously we'll see him again twice, at least twice this season. He wants to know, do we want John Joe back?
Not a chance. We want to give you more, Dor, on top of John Joe. Chris Wood, you took office as well. No, there were no tears for that one. That might answer the other question that came up as well in the chat. That we've started. But we definitely don't want John Joe back.
Well, we've got a couple of Brazilian midfielders that might want to get shot off. There's Hendriquinho and Hayden, isn't that right? That they might want to take that off our hands this year if they fancy a couple of more outcasts. And Stephen Warnock's put a good one in the end. Just come up with a one word answer. Let's get to this quick. He says, "Who's our worst signing in the last 20 years?"
Ooh, what a great question.
I've been looking at some of the answers for this one, and some really good ones. I won't name them out. I'll let the lads think, but I put my own in there. The one that disappointed me because again, the Irish connection. Damien Duff. He was brilliant at Chelsea. Brilliant at Blackburn.
Such a disappointment.
And he didn't get. Unfortunate that the own goal. They got us relegated as well. And so on top of that, I took a touch off him, but. Damien Duff let me down, and he was absolutely brilliant for Ireland as well, Duffer. But no, they're all filing in the chat. There's some really good ones.
It's a great question, isn't
it? Stevie actually put the one that always stands out for me. But it's actually over 20 years, and that was Stefan Givash. We signed him after the 98 World Cup, I believe it was, and he had a decent World Cup, but he was absolute garbage, absolute garbage for Newcastle. That would always
sign a player after an international competition. I think we learnt our mistake that time. That we don't sign a player after an international competition for that reason. For me, there's loads, but one that sticks out for me more recently, should I say, Emmanuel Riviere. Awful striker. Dreadful. He had a little spell in the first game of the season against Man City at St James's Park where he took the ball past the man. I think he hit a shot that was either saved or just past the post. He thought, "Hey, we could be onto something there." That's literally all he did in his whole career.
That was the highlight.
And you know what? Forget the fees that we pay for players now. We paid 10 million for the privilege of that. You go back to fees in the way they were back then. 10 million was a lot of money that we paid from. I think it was Monaco that we paid that money from.
Yeah, it was.
That's a lot of money back there for a striker. He was an absolute disgrace. He really, really was. But like I say, Cisco and all the rest of them, you can name all of them, and they'd all have genuine.
While you're thinking there, Chris, there was one I would have.
I've got one.
There's one I would have always answered for this, and it's Marcelino. But from talking to Mitch, the Geordie dentist, when I was the first trip over the start of last season, he shed some light on the situation for him, and it changed my opinion then on that one. But so he's no longer on top of my list on to that question. Sorry, Chris, you wanted to answer.
Do you know what? I was racking my brains, and like Mitch said, Givash came into my head. John Dahl Thomason came into my head. There was a few, and then it was Pete talking about Riviere up front, and I was thinking, disappointing strikers, any more disappointing strikers? And then me and Stu 0602 must have been thinking exactly the same thing, and he's Owen, and
Oh yeah.
it's got to be Michael Owen. Even now, I still get wound up even talking about him. I've never known somebody who's just so openly like disrespectful. Even now, when he talks about Newcastle, and it's
boring.
like, oh, it's just unbearable. Well, he's the only player I can think of who his previous clubs, none of them liked him. When you think about it, none of his previous clubs liked him. Man United didn't like him. Liverpool now don't like him. We don't like him. I don't think Real Madrid likes him. Nah. Michael Owen. And because of the cost.
The only one that does is Stoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only ones that'll have him back. But yeah.
Tell you what,
Sim de Jong, another one. Throw in there.
Yeah, he was a disappointing one. Because you could see he had it, but it just didn't work out
that
for him.
Teddy Sheringham kind of vibe off him.
Yeah, he did.
I think my most disappointment was Hugo Viana. He had so much potential.
Good one.
Great things.
Was it his fault though? See, I'm gonna back Hugo Viana to the hilt here.
No, I would. I thought he was a fantastic player.
I don't think it was his fault. I really don't think it was his fault that he didn't perform. He wanted to play centre midfield. Bobby Robson
put
him on the left. But equally, Laurent Robert saw that Hugo Viana was coming in on the left. He upped his game massively that season, which kept him out of the team. Yeah. And I get it. We had Dyer, Genus. Obviously, Gareth Speed was a player of his own unique quality in that defensive midfield role. Like, there was no way in for him. And I genuinely believe if he would have given a proper run of games, 10, 15 games, you're the man, you're going to play. I think he got European Young Player of the Year. You don't do that if you're not a bad player. I just think it was. I don't think it was his fault. So I completely understand why you put it on. Why you said it, Richie. I completely.
Yeah, it was. I would never put it in the worst player category. I think it's disappointing because he had like what Daz. Yeah, he was clearly a player there, but obviously it just didn't work out for us. But going back to just before obviously we get the sponsors and finish the show off. Interesting. Obviously, we said about Stefan Givosh not signing the player. Can you remember who we discussed quite a lot in January as being a potential signing for Newcastle? And loads of clubs have him, but nobody has still been able to buy. Well, no one's been interested. That's Amrabat from Fiorentina. Had a fantastic World Cup.
Man United.
He still can't get it out of Fiorentina. Nobody's put moves of him.
Man United are after him. They're about to put a bid in. They've been heavily linked with him.
It's interesting, though, but it's where does he fit in though? Because obviously you've got Casemiro, and so it just. Do you reckon?
Casemiro missed like 8 games last season through suspensions, like through red cards. Like and they didn't have anybody.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it to Dubravka and go and sign on and play on just to come on off the bench when Casemiro was missing.
Well, I mean, look, I don't really care about Man United. I'll be honest with you, but
which are there?
You would expect that he would. With them fighting on 4 fronts, Champions League as well as us, they would need someone to replace him in certain games.
He's probably going to be the Fred replacement, isn't he? Because obviously Fred looks like he's on his way out. So,
but just to end on that question, I'm going to sponsor is all those players we mentioned, all those players in the chat. I think we can blame one man. We can blame Steve Bruce for that. And in honor of Stu Flyby, Bruce out. All right, he would enjoy that. All right, okay. Shout out to our sponsors, and we wrap up. Shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co., the Northeast's largest supplier of Velcro embotched bathroomwear. Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, run by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate, Gateshead. And here's some of the beautiful bathrooms that are available. And also shout out to the radiatorshed.com. And if you notice on Twitter, Russ was there tweeting away the Radiator of the North is his new promo, and get down to the showroom there and check those out. Check out those radiators, and then see they get them installed and everything through InstallWorks. Russ's other company. So no better man, and mention Loaded and you get a bit of a discount as well. So that is it for our sponsors. We are back again. We may be back tomorrow, who knows, but we are back definitely on Tuesday at 7:30. We put up the details of the show for that. And that is it. Anything else you want to say, lads?
No, all good.
Ah, Richie got it. How do you like that?
Drink it, like me, then tell me if you like that, like that.